Oh no.
Jasmine, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. You know that I don't do the technology. Okay. So I am my name is Jasmine. Thank you all so much for joining. I'm so excited to talk about tonight's topic. My name is Jasmine, like I said. I'm a practicing witch and a high priestess of the Solar Court Coven. I run a YouTube channel talking about witchy things, the occult, paganism, and without any further ado, I would love to have all of my guests introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Nerdy Warlock. You can find me on Twitter at the Nerdy Warlock. You can find me on Facebook at the Nerdy Warlock, where I do readings of Ogum. You can find me on Instagram, where I share random, vaguely pagan things. And you can find me on YouTube, where I make pagan videos.
Hi, I'm Gigi. I am a full-time baddie housewife, also makeup artist, and witch curious. I'm super excited to be on the channel and learn more about the project.
Hi guys, I'm Ace with Ace Readings, full-time tarot reader, part-time medium. I kind of find the fine line between spiritualism and paganism and bring kind of both of those in my own mishmash eclectic belief system. So I'm also here to learn all about more of the left-hand path, as some would call it. And I'm just here to learn everything I can. Thanks for having me.
So tonight on the channel, we are going to be talking about the girls, the goths, the gays, the infernal trinity. Okay. So in paganism and in witchcraft, there is often this idea, there's often this thought that women, cis or trans, are associated with witch. Also, the gays, I'm talking about LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, associated with the craft. And the goths, of course, we can't leave the goths out. The goths, the little batlings, if you will. So Warlock has some tea and has some receipts, as do I. But first of all, let's talk about why the LGBTQ is associated with the craft. Warlock, take it away.
Why we are associated with it?
Yes.
Well, two things come to mind. One, LGBT people as a whole are associated with the craft by other people because we are blasphemous just in our existence to them, right? So they associate us with witchcraft because witchcraft is of Satan. So therefore we are too, therefore we must practice this. However, using our own voice, I feel like LGBT people are associated with the craft so much in such big numbers because we have been shunned and turned away from mainstream religions and spiritualities. So we come to this path seeking self-empowerment, but also I think that LGBT people come to the path of witchcraft and paganism as a greater whole because it is a safe space for us to come and release all of that pain and trauma that was put upon us. It gives us the tools to release ourselves from that shame. And then I think once you get through that, LGBT people embrace it because it continues to give us a voice to sustain and empower us. But we've always been associated with it, going back to way back, like in the Sumerians, the Babylonians. I mean, a trans individual, or not even that language, just a person of anything that was different, was usually seen as someone highly spiritual, because therefore you must have understanding of what it is like to walk in both genders, outside of genders, and so that person was seen as extremely sacred and could access the spiritual side for you. It wasn't until post-medieval Christianity that we get to a point where it's bad, because in early medieval days, even the Catholic Church condoned gay marriages, which is wild. Gay marriages.
Are we okay? Is this Mercury retrograde taking upon us? Okay, so Warlock, take it from the top.
From what top? I'm confused.
Take it from the top of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, gods, and paganism.
Oh, okay. Pretty much every culture has some gods that aren't straight. With the exception of like 2. So any area of interest that you have, you're going to find something. Even in the Nordic traditions, which is so believed to be heterosexual and cis, it's not. And it starts with Odin at the top and rolls downhill. I mean, there's a ton. Zeus himself. A lot of these father gods are not super hetero macho men at all. Once you start to read their myths, that is so false. But I mean, you have Hermaphrodite, infamous.
Speak on it.
Infamous. That name itself can be triggering, though. I understand that. That is where we get the term hermaphrodite. And then you've got gay gods. Well, I consider him solely gay. Some people would say bisexual, and that would be Apollo, who had a gay lover who was killed by the spirit of the wind, and he turned him into a flower so that he could forever be like immortalized. And
Right there.
You have his twin sister Diana, who vowed celibacy from men. Okay, but girls shouldn't say nothing about celibacy from women. Like,
okay. Can we talk about the virginal gods of the Hellenic pantheon?
Mm-hmm.
Please.
Yep. I mean, there's a ton. There's so many.
I'm so glad that you brought up Hermaphroditus, because Hermaphroditus and Hellenic paganism, I'm sorry, the patron saint of prostitutes, the patron saint of hermaphrodites, of transgender people, of female, or of male to female, if you will, having a phallus and breasts. Let's just say that. Why is having breasts and a phallus associated with prostitution? Why do you guys think it's associated with sexual promiscuity and prostitution? I think we have to take a look at the ancient Greeks' perspective of Hermaphroditus, child of Aphrodite, in this picture.
I have a bit to say. Does somebody else want to go first?
It's all you.
Gigi?
Oh, no.
Okay. I don't look at it necessarily from a mythological perspective when trying to answer that question, like why is that a thing so much? I look at it psychologically and sociologically. I think that psychologically, men who identify as heterosexual find it more acceptable to enact any kind of homosexual thoughts that they may have with a trans woman, because that's like safer for them. Because they're like, well, she's still a woman. She still has breasts for me to look at and a beautiful face and feminine features, but I get to play with this penis, which is like, ugh. So I think, and also, why are trans people in mythology and in society identified so much with prostitution? There's nothing wrong with sex work. Sex work is work, and I support it, and it should be legal.
Period.
Yeah.
Period. On this channel, we support adult encounters.
Oh yeah, I said the S word. I'm sorry.
We gotta be careful because YouTube comments for us.
Legal love making. It should be legal.
Yes.
But no, I think that sometimes, especially in modern day, that's a video that sometimes it's only open to trans individuals. And I'm not trying to speak for trans people right now, but sometimes that's it. You can't get through job interviews at other places sometimes if someone clocks you and they're like, "Are you trans?" So prostitution is a way of being your own boss, being in charge, and not having to deal with some of that. But I think, yeah, it goes back eons. I think that trans people are hated, but also in a almost perverted way, so revered by the straight man, because it's, like I said, it's a safe way for him to enact bisexual or homosexual feelings by projecting them onto this woman. So,
well, and I also feel like, you know, as a trans person, I feel like, and I've been told this by other practitioners, that by being trans, we're kind of like the Hannah Montana. We're the best of both worlds, if you will. So we are as above, so below. We are the male and the female. We are the soft and the hard. We are the yin and the yang. We are everything in the universe incarnate into the flesh. We are. And some people in the world and some people in the witchy community feel intimidated by this power. You know, the Native Americans called this two-spirited, right? Two-spirited. But cross-cultural, cross-geographics, cross-linguistics, we have existed since the beginning of time. Okay?
Yep.
Give us a like this video. Go ahead and like this video. Okay? We have existed from the beginning of time. Period. There's no questions. There's no nothing. Trans people across cultures, across geographies, have been the spiritual priests and priestesses. Go to your Hindu temple. Go to your mandir. Go to your Buddhist temple. Go to your pagoda. It is transgender people who embody the priesthood or the priestesshood, if you prefer. We are the spiritual guiders, the spiritual leaders. We embody the masculine and the feminine, the above, the below, the heavens, the cosmos, the earth, the heavens. We embody all of that as transgender people. And I feel like we often get pushed to the side, pushed to the wayside in the spiritual or esoteric community. As transgender women, we're told you're not magical because you can't birth children. Oh, baby, we are magical. Let me tell you. Okay? And also in the LGBTQ community, we are told you're not welcome here because your identity is not a sexual orientation. That is true. Gay, lesbian, bisexual. Those are orientations. Being transgender is a gender identity. So yes, we are separate from gender and sexuality. I feel like for me, and I can only speak for me as a trans person, but being transgender for me represents a multitude of things. Not only do I feel the innate power of the masculine and the feminine, but also being a pansexual person, I feel connected to the LGBTQ community. So I've gone on a rant here. I'm sorry for my TED Talk. I've gone on a rant. Okay.
So what were we actually talking about before? It was prostitution, or was it the association with witchcraft?
The association of prostitutes, transgenders, and the craft.
Okay.
I mean, we were talking about how that ties into paganism and like world mythology and stuff, but there's presence of gay and trans people even in the Abrahamic faiths. They tried to erase them all, but they're not completely gone.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like in the Islamic faith, I'm gonna pronounce this totally wrong.
Okay, what is it, Habibi?
I apologize. Let me look at the word as I try to pronounce it.
Please.
But there is some spirits, 3 of them, the Mukhanathan? I don't know.
Mukhanathan?
It's Mukhannathun.
Mukhanathan?
So that
Nam. Yes.
In the stories that I've seen, they've tried to kind of say, oh yeah, those were homosexual men. But in some of the stories that I have found online, from transcripts that they have found that predate them being called gay men, they were this third gender person. And they were considered to be the daughters, these trans daughters of Allah himself. And they wandered the desert, almost, and they were kind of considered jinn too later on from what I read. But the idea that Allah himself would have 3 trans daughters that roam the earth interacting with humanity is like mind-blowing. And I know that pretty much every Muslim is probably going to attack me for that, but it's there. I didn't make it up. Like that was a thing.
Yes, that is in the Quran.
Yeah. It's fascinating. So it's not just paganism. It's everywhere in everybody's mythology.
Yeah.
I often feel like that transgender people, and I'm sorry for going on this rant here, but it's often that transgender people get discriminated against, get avoided, get blasted on religion or social media or whatever. But we truly are, in my opinion, the link to everything.
Do you think that in Christianity, how sometimes the devil himself is portrayed as having breasts and a penis, do you think that that's like Christians' way of trying to say that trans people are inherently evil?
Are you talking about Baphomet?
Baphomet, yeah.
Yeah. So Baphomet came much later, but Baphomet is the divine masculine and feminine incarnate. And I think that, so I have been told that I am a modern incarnation of Baphomet, of Baphomet, whatever you want to call it. The male, the female, the above, the below, the masculine, the feminine. And in some regards, I think that is correct. But I think the most important thing to remember is that transgender, transsexual, whatever word you want to say, we are everything. Everything. We are the male, the female, incarnate. We are the astral and the physical, incarnate. We ring out your groceries. We work at the gas stations. We work at your bank. We do your health care. We're your nurses. We're your lawyers, your executives, your CEOs. And I think that just like as a trans person, as witches, we are everywhere. Witches, we as well. You know, as witches, we ring out your groceries. We check your balances at the bank. We do your law. We take care of you. You know, and in northern India, specifically Punjab, we are the eunuchs. We have been spiritual castes since forever. You know, we take care of your queens. We take care of your kings. We bless babies. We do bridal showers. We do graduation parties. Eunuchs, trans women, we have a special energy that blesses the space. And whether you want to hear it or not, we are holy and sacred. And it's interesting to me how our presence is wanted, desired, yet our presence is also not wanted. If you look at the eunuchs of Punjab, our presence is only wanted when the families want a blessing, when the families want trans women or, you know, kera, to bless the space, bless a new home, bless a new baby. But other than that, we're not welcome in society. And I think that is because cis people, cisgender people, can we get a definition for cisgender? Can we get a definition? Warlock, can you define cisgender for the viewers?
So cisgender is a person who does identify with the sex that they were assigned at birth. So if you were born male and you're cool with being male and you're like, yes, I'm a male. I am a man. He, his. You identify with what is on your original paperwork.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, yeah, trans people are often sexualized and demonized.
Also, I feel like we should just go on record and say trans women, because we're talking about trans women a lot specifically here, trans women and trans men. Trans women, sometimes they have certain genitalia and sometimes they don't. Breasts or whatever. But ultimately, it's none of your business what genitalia they have. It's none of your business. Because no matter what, trans women are women and should be respected as women, period. Not as a special kind of woman. Like, not as a trans woman. It's just a woman, okay? Yeah. Trans women are just women. And their genitalia is none of your business. None of your business. Not my business. Nobody's business.
Yeah.
Well, and I didn't expect this live to turn into a transgender female live, but we're here. We're here. So let's just get into it. You guys know that I am very much a trans femme. Okay. Like, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I am trans. So for all you haters out there, go ahead and just screen record this video right here. Go ahead and screen record. I'm going to say it again for y'all. I am trans. Yasmina Ambrosia Maftach is trans, period. And that's it. So my trans experience and my witchcraft and my practice and my paganism and every single thing I do is sculpted and shaped by being trans. And the thing that a lot of you guys might not know, okay, is that the deities, the divine, it's genderless.
Yeah.
You have gods, you have goddesses, you have masculine, you have feminine. Sure, yes. But the source of everything is nothing. And it's everything all at once. That's my opinion. And I don't seek to represent any other witches by what I say. And I don't seek to represent any other transgender people by what I say. But I want all of you on this live and all of you who are watching to know that trans people are valid and that we exist.
Mhm.
And that we've always been around since the dawn of time. It's not a new thing. We've been here. We've existed. And we are what made spirituality.
Y'all, this got very serious very quickly.
It did. I forgot what we were talking about originally.
I know!
I mean, I appreciate all the trans stuff, though.
Yeah, we were just going to talk about LGBT in general in witchcraft originally, right?
Yeah. Well, I do feel like
Let's
the
get
spotlight should be on
into it.
trans for a second. Damn, I look so good. If you didn't know I was a Leo, now you do.
So I always, just on the topic of the LGBTQ community and witchcraft, I've always, the queer community in general has always kind of been on the fringe. We've always kind of been left of center. And the one thing that, a lot of queer people can find comfort and strength in is the left-handed path.
Period.
It's because it's all about, for the most part, there are some traditionalists, ones that go way back, that think that it's only one way, but it's not. No path or belief system or understanding of how paganism in general works is invalid or valid. And there's beauty in that, and understanding how you can take it and shape it into whatever way you want. Because growing up, you are always pressed to be a certain way, and you didn't want to be that way. So, rolling into adulthood, rolling into your own individuality, it kind of goes hand in hand, really. That's where I found comfort in it. I can be who I am. I can express myself the way I want, and find power within myself at the end of the day, and find power within the balance between feminine and masculine. And that's where I have found comfort in it. But that's all I have to say on
that. I have a question actually for you both. Does your sexual or gender identity even play a part in your witchcraft or magical practice in any way, or not?
Honestly, Not really. I think it's just like the belief system as a whole is what lines up with my own personal philosophy and belief system as a person. So that's my take on it. What about you, Gigi?
I'm sorry, what happened? I was looking because I never did like the live thing, so I was trying to figure out like all the little features. But yeah. So one more time from the top.
So, what is your? You say it again, Warlock?
Oh, I asked like, does your gender or sexual orientation even play a part in your magical practice in any way or not?
Not really. I feel like bodies are just vessels, you know, like our spirituality when it jumps from generation to generation, it's more so like a beam or energy burst. So I would say the duality of being trans definitely does play a part because like being both Aphrodite and Adonis, definitely, you know, those worlds, that definitely helps. But when it comes to the practice, no, it's just that's all intuitive. Like you are the magic. Like it's not really like my genitalia is the magic. Like no, that's just what I pee out of.
Right.
And use for one time.
I guess I will say like I work with Apollo regularly because he represents the sun. You know, I believe in the power of the sun and the moon both. Like he represents the masculine for me, but I also find comfort in him because he was the first, you know, he's the one that had gay homosexual relationships.
Yeah.
And that was like the proof is in like the records, you know? And so like I did find comfort in that and knowing that like this part of my belief system isn't going to ostracize me for being gay, you know? It's not that they just celebrate that, but they celebrate everything from all walks of life. There's nothing that's invalid here. So I guess just in that aspect, I do seek out like the gay gods and goddesses because that is what I would vibe with most. So maybe in that aspect, yes, but in the day-to-day ritual practices, things of that sort, not really.
Where's Jasmine?
I don't know. She's probably having a smoke.
I'm right here. I'm
having a smoke, babe.
Having a smoke. Having a smoke. I do want to say that who said it? Was it Leanne? No, Solove. Only trans people created spirituality. Solove, no, I am not saying that. Okay? I'm not saying that. I am saying that trans people are a part of spirituality and that you cannot remove trans people from spirituality. And that's on period. Okay? So thank you for understanding. Thank you. Thank you, Solavi.
Oh, that's crazy.
So what are your guys' thoughts on LGBTQ deities? We mentioned a few, but what are your guys' thoughts? Diana, Artemis, Apollo, Athena.
I believe it with Diana because I feel like lesbians really get things done. I feel safe with the Diana energy.
And then we have Loki too, who was, I believe he was non-binary or gender fluid.
Right. He shifts gender a lot in his myths.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's like another example of that and just another aspect of the LGBT community. You know, it's not just homosexuality, bisexuality, you know, it's I mean, it goes in all different kinds of aspects, and it shows that it's been, I mean, all of it's really been valid since the beginning of time, you know, like that's the belief system. These divine entities that we worship and believe, you can't really pick and choose what you want to believe from them. You have to accept them as a whole. And some of them, you know, like Loki, like Apollo, like Diana, they're all on their own personal journeys, but it doesn't affect who they are and what their job is or what their abilities are on the day to day.
Yeah. I think it's interesting when we look at like the Greco-Roman deities, because their concept of heterosexual and homosexual, like it's totally different from ours. Like,
well, they
people,
never,
yeah, people weren't really straight or gay. They just
were bi. They just were. That's who. Yeah, they were just people.
Yeah, they didn't really have those terms.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting that we just later on were like, we must label everything.
Right. And especially now, you know, I had to have a big, you know, I have like, you know, just day to day talking to other gay people, at some point, your coming out story is brought up. And that's what I respect with the Greco-Roman deities and gods and goddesses, is they never had to do that. They just, yep, this is my lover. And they just so happen to be male or female this time.
So my question is, how do we feel as modern day practitioners? How do we feel as witches or warlock or whatever? How does our sexuality and our gender identity affect our practice? If at all.
I mean, it really doesn't, unless it comes to adult interaction magic, which isn't, I mean, extremely common, but it does happen. But like, it all just kind of, I feel like it all just boils down to, for me personally, you are who you are, and what you can bring to the table is what you can bring to the table, bring to the craft, bring to your practice. And I think that's where I find comfort with that, is because in the Greco-Roman mythology, they didn't have to approach those situations. So I would love one day, not just in the craft, but just in general in life, is what if we didn't have to come out? What if we could just be? I think that'd be a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I don't think that me being me, like, has really shaped my magical practice, but I do think my magical practice has kind of shaped my sexual identity and my gender identity. I've talked about it a little bit before. I think maybe on the last live we did that. I think it was because of my commitment to shadow work in my practice that made me come to terms with all of the repressed anger and shame that I had from growing up and being told that I was not okay. And it, like, I don't want to get emotional, but my practice really kind of forced me. I do feel like the gods forced me because I didn't want to do it. Forced me to figure out my gender identity, because I thought I was one thing, and it was a big journey. So yeah, I feel like the practice informed my orientations, but not the other way around. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, it does. Now, do you believe that's due to just your practice, or is that from the culture of what others practice and how they have formed themselves from their own practices? Does that make sense?
No, I'm confused.
So, do you feel like, well, let me ask you this. Was it a solitary practice that you went through when you had to go through this journey where you felt forced to be who you truly are? Do you feel like that was just you and your practice, or do you feel that was within the culture of us as witches, warlocks, pagans, shamans? Do you think that played a part in it too?
Okay, so not to get like way too personal, but I was coming out of, like, when I entered into paganism, I was coming out of a very Christian home, and I was coming out of like gay conversion therapy. So
Okay.
when I met a group of like-minded witches, we formed a coven, and they were out and proud lesbians. And that was like mind-blowing to me.
Mm.
Well, excuse me, one was lesbian, one was bisexual, but that was like mind-blowing. So that really helped me to come out further with that. And then in terms of my gender journey, I feel like that came about because then again, I met these magical people who identified as trans and non-binary, and just being around people like that is what helped me. You know what I mean? That could have happened in a non-magical space, I suppose. But for me, it was in a magical space.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it did. Because I do feel like, I guess that's what I was asking, is being around these out and proud. Because once you kind of claim, not necessarily claim, but once you announce, or once you take that title of witch or pagan or whatever it may be, you can start being more free as yourself, because that was the hardest part for me, is coming out as, I mean, not necessarily coming out of the broom closet, as you will, is finding more comfort in your own expression, because that is what it's all about, is expressing yourself and believing in what you want to believe in and knowing that it's valid. And then you kind of have to face those different sides of yourself that maybe you didn't before you started following the left-handed path. So I just find it really interesting to see where, for instance, your gender identity, your sexuality, like things of that sort, came into play after you started following that path. Because I do see where it all ties in together. I mean, it almost feels like, in a way, hand in hand, magic and self-expression.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, magic in and itself requires self-expression. Like, magic is, in my definition, is the sculpting of universal energies to your will. That requires you to express yourself. And I think if you do magic inauthentically, it's probably not going to work out. Like, if you're trying to cast certain spells or craft certain energies, and you're doing it from a place where you're totally blocked psychologically and emotionally, it's probably not going to work out.
A lot of that, that shadow work. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's really you have to go through those things. You have to face the quote unquote inner demons that you may be avoiding beforehand in order to have the purest of intentions.
Mm-hmm. Or even to just receive the blessings that you seek.
True.
You may want so much from the universe, but you're not open to actually receiving it. Mm-hmm. You're open to asking for it a lot, but you're not open to actually being like, okay, yeah, thank you. You know? Because sometimes in order to receive certain energies, you've got to take out some energies to make room for it. And maybe some of them energies are some dark, horrible things that you've decided to believe about yourself or about other people. And you've got to get rid of it to accept those new blessings,
Mm-hmm.
Very true. I can vouch for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's possible, in my opinion. I don't think it's possible to truly be a witch or magical practitioner of any kind and be a fake person.
Right, of course.
Like, if you're fake, you're not going to last very long in the path because the path is just going to beat the out of you. You know? You can't be fake. You can't be fake. You can be fake in other paths and other religions that we won't name. You can be fake. But in witchcraft, you can't be fake. You just can't.
It's definitely an inward journey as much as it is outward. You know, growing up Christian, you go to church and you see those people that are raising their hands and bowing down up front, and you know, the very next day they might even snub you because you don't fit their form of what they should be, you know, and you can't really. And that's just my personal experience going to my local church, dealing with people and even in my family that are like that. And here you kind of have to be open-minded and just understand that there's different paths that people will take and embrace that side of it. You're muted, honey.
Okay, real quick, I do want to say Ashara Nocturnalis. I did make you a moderator, so if you could just like check in on the chat, make sure that people are acting accordingly, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, go back. Let's go back to what we were talking about.
What were we talking about?
Well, okay, so that's basically just what I was saying was, and this doesn't even, you know, let's talk about cisgendered, heterosexual, run-of-the-mill people you'd see on the day-to-day that you wouldn't even question if they're taking a left-handed path or if they're part of the LGBTQ community. Like, even then, you don't have to, I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to say is you do just have to be your true self. You don't have to be a certain way. You don't have to be a certain person. You just have to be.
Mm-hmm. And at any state, you know, of being. Like, I don't think you should beat yourself up if you're at a point on your magical path and you're like, yeah, I'm a witch, but I'm like so angry all the time. I'm just mad. I'm a mad person. Like, sometimes that's okay. You can be angry for a little while. You know what I mean? I think don't box yourself into being like, well, if I'm a witch, I have to be like this all the time. Like, no, you can exist in many different states and still be a witch. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Not one thing.
So, Warlock, let's talk about some gayness. We've talked about transness all night long.
Mm-hmm. It needed to be said, I guess.
I guess
40 minutes later.
Right. Right. I guess
it's like SpongeBob, 40 minutes later.
Right. I guess Spirit led us to talk about the transness. But let's talk about the L and the G. The lesbian, the gay.
Okay. I mean, where to start? Like, I mean, I think it's interesting that in the 70s, we saw this huge rise of like Dianic witchcraft, which was for lesbians only or women only. And then you saw like Apollonian groups that were like for gay men only. And you had like the radical fairies. I think that's really cool. I mean, some of those groups weren't great ultimately, theologically speaking. But I think it's cool that almost immediately after paganism went mainstream in like 1956, immediately gay men, particularly gay men, like just swarmed it, and they were like, diss me. Like, I think that's really cool. Really cool. But I mean, like going back to Greco-Rome era, the practice of homosexuality was like rampant, and was seen as like a sacred thing. It was a way of passing down knowledge to one another. We even see it like in the Celtic world, where before they went to battle, some Celtic tribes, the men would all get together and share a moment that we can't talk about here on the live.
Mm-hmm.
They would share a moment and share certain parts of their stuffness with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And by consuming an essence, we'll just say, from each other, they were believed to be carrying on that brother's strength by ingesting his essence, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fascinating. And it goes back to what we've been saying this whole time. Which is that we're everywhere, we're in everything, and we always have been. And yes, some spiritual paths have praised us, and some have hurt us. Gigi, what?
What? I'm just sitting here. I am just a Hoosier girl listening to you talk about essence.
Ace, what do you have to say about gay and lesbian stuff?
Okay. Like I said, I mean, I don't know, like I said, I mentioned this earlier, is people really don't do, I mean, if people come at you some type of way about like gay is wrong or gay is a sin, whatever, gays have been around forever. They have never, we've had to kind of go back into the closet over the generations and stuff because it was so taboo, And I really feel like, I mean, we've always been around. We've always been, to be a stereotype, the waiters, the entertainers, the hairdressers, the, this, that, and the other. But so we've always kind of been in that gay stereotype, I guess. That's always kind of been like almost like the comedic relief. But like, we've also been like, like Jasmine said, we've always been the bankers and the lawyers and the doctors, and the only difference is being in those bigger positions, you have more at stake, so you have a little bit more to hide at the time. But now you can be out and proud and just be who you are, and
you can. You can, and I wish some of these people in these big, powerful positions would just come out.
Right.
Yeah. Because this is 2021. At some point, statistically speaking, we have had at least one LGBT president of the United States who was in the closet for their presidency.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I
wish they would come out, though, because that's what would change our country and the world.
Absolutely. But they're going to keep that stuff under wraps because it comes down to, I mean, to be harsh, the ignorance of people and thinking, well, did that influence their run? Did that influence this, that, and the other? Acting like that label is going to be all consuming when it's just a small part of you.
Okay, first of all, for all of those watching, I have my pizza rolls. Okay, come get your snacks. Come get these blessings. Give this video a thumbs up. Like this video. Come on now. I see all y'all on this video, and we have 4 likes. What is going on? What is going on?
On the video? How many?
More than 4.
It's over 10. It's over 10.
Yeah, but the comment section is blowed up this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking. Yeah.
So let's talk, there's like the story of like Abraham Lincoln, and he had a close friend that he was sending very intimate letters back and forth
you
from.
You can read them for yourself. They're in a museum. You can read them.
Yeah. And you're going to be like,
together.
There wasn't no gay president. Like, come on.
I know. Ugh. But yeah, no, what was I going to say? Yeah, I think if you're like new to the path and maybe you're questioning your sexual orientation, I think you found the right path. I'm just saying. Because
A real good path.
in my experience, I have never encountered any kind of like spirits. So like the Fae, the Merfolk, the Elves, the Pixies, the gods themselves. I've never encountered a single one of them who exhibited homophobic or transphobic tendencies. I'm just saying.
So, as you said, I don't know if you guys saw it, but as you were talking about the ethereal other folk, I guess is what you want to call them, and it's happened twice now. There's like this white flash that goes past real fast on your screen.
Oh, mine?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, so behind me, you see these candles?
Mm-hmm.
Before I came on, I work with the Fae a lot. And before I came on, I lit a candle for 4 different ones. So, Mama, they're here.
I saw that.
They're here.
They're making themselves known.
Yeah. But that's cool. I didn't notice that. That's cool.
So in summary, because we are approaching that hour mark, how does your gender identity and sexuality affect your craft and your practice?
I'm going to go with what Jake said. It doesn't affect my practice, but my practice has affected who I am as an LGBTQ individual.
Mm-hmm.
Self-expression, dear. Self-expression.
Yeah. Agree. I mean, I know I'm agreeing back to you saying that you agreed to me, but yeah.
Totally agreeing with what you're saying.
My stuff has not really affected my path, but my path has affected my stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. For the better.
What about you, Gigi?
She gone.
She gone. Yeah, she gone.
Sorry. What happened?
So how do you think being in the LGBTQ community has shaped your beliefs or your craft or vice versa?
I don't really feel like it goes hand in hand. I would say they're just kind of different, but I don't really think of like my orientation or my gender identity when it comes to the craft. That's just kind of like a self-guided, almost like heartstring, if you will. But I would say the craft has helped me like love myself more as a trans woman. Definitely when I think of like Aphrodite and just like a lot of like my blessings and just like what I give back to the world, I kind of see it. And I also see like why like goddesses are attracted to me, because I was given the divine feminine, but also I have a vessel where I can protect like the female spirit as well. So it's just, I don't know. Hashtag life.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like,
So we do have to wrap this up. Okay. So I want to thank everyone for joining. Thank you, Melody. Thank you, Ashara Nocturnales, for becoming a moderator. Thank you, Ashara. Let's get a clap for Ashara. Little clap. Thank you, Ashara. I appreciate it. Thank you, Leanne. Thank you. Who else? Uncle Badger. Mitch Mavin. Thank you, Solavi. Thank you, everybody, for joining tonight. Solavi, Uncle Badger, Ashara, everybody, thank you for joining this live. I can't say how much I appreciate all of your support. Okay, it means the world to me and to mine. So until next time, blessed be. Bye-bye.
Oh,